Okay, children, we'll continue the lesson now. See here. How does a dog eat meat? I said already for you, it hunts the animals and it takes the meat with the help of its canine teeth. It tears the meat with the help of its teeth, canine teeth that it has, and tears the flesh with the help of the claws. Okay, and how does it drink water? It uses its tongue to drink the water. It uses its tongue to drink the water. Okay, this is how the dog uses its mouth parts to take its food. Next, is there any difference using its tongue when compared to frog and cow? So, if you take dog, frog and cow, these three use their tongue in taking their food. For taking the food. So, how do these animals use the tongue for taking the food? If you see the frog, you usually see the frog capturing the insect with its tongue. Captures the insect with its tongue. Is it clear? So that is how the frog takes the insect. Next, coming to the cow. What does the cow do? What does the cow do with the help of its tongue? The cow, it grasps the grass, a clump of grass. It grasps a clump of grass. It grasps the clump of grass, a clump of grass with the help of its tongue, with its tongue. Okay. And what about the dog? I already told now that it licks the liquid foods with the help of its tongue. So it drinks water and other liquid food. It drinks water, or that is the drinking process is licking process. It licks the water and other liquids and other liquid foods with its tongue. Okay, this is about the different types of that is the ways in which the different animals use their tongue. All these three animals use their tongue, but the process of taking their food is different by these different animals. This use this tongue to capture the insect. By the frog, the cow you grasps a clump of grass with its tongue, and the dog licks only the water and other liquid foods with its tongue. So this is in the cow you also see them. It uses for not taking the food. It licks its cobs and all. You might have seen the cows licking the cobs with its tongue, isn't it? So that is what you know about this. That is the animal, how they use their tongue. Note down in your notebooks, all of you. Coming to next topic is food chain. Food chain, it is the link between the plants and animals for the sake of food. What is food chain? The chain, in the name itself, it denotes that it is the link. What is the chain? It is the link between plants and animals. For what? For food. It is called as food chain. So what is food chain, children? Read out all of you. The link between plants and animals for food or for the sake of food. It is called as food chain. So you know that all the organisms, all the living organisms need food to perform their life activities. All organisms, including the plants and animals along with the human beings, what do they need? They need food. Living organisms need food to perform the life activities. Living organisms. What are living organisms? the living organisms, what do they need? They need food. Why do they need food? To get energy. Why they want energy? To perform the life activities. So they need food to perform life activities. What are the life activities that they need to perform? That is growth, reproduction, respiration, excretion, digestion. These are the different activities that we perform first in order to move, in order to grow, in order to these are the different characteristic features of the living organisms that they perform. In order to carry out these activities, they require food. Okay, so that is the requirement of food. So this food is obtained by different animals in different manner. What is this? We are going to learn in this topic now. So all the organisms, they depend on one another for their food. So there is an interdependence between plants and animals for their food. So the relationship between the plants and animals for food based on their food habits, it is called as food chain. So you can understand that a food chain explains the interdependence of living organisms based on their food habits. Now again, another definition of the food chain is that the relationship between the plants and animals based on their food habits. That means food chain explains the interdependence of living organisms. Food chain explains interdependence of living organisms. What are living organisms? Plants, animals and human beings. Interdependence of living organisms based on their food habits. Based on their food habits. Okay, I have already told you the food habits and the animals are classified based on their food habits into herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. Isn't it? And first you should know that what are plants and animals. We can say that plants are producers and animals are consumers. What are plants? Plants, all the living organisms are classified into producers and consumers. See here children, living organisms are classified into producers and consumers. What they classify? They are classified into producers and consumers. Producers. So producers are plants. Plants are producers. Plants are producers. Why plants are producers? Because they prepare their own food by taking the water and mineral salts from the soil, using the sunlight and chlorophyll. They prepare their own food. So they are called as producers. Whereas consumers, they depend on plants or other animals for their food. So animals are called consumers. Animals depend on plants and other animals for their food. So they are called as consumers. Okay, next coming to the consumers now. So what are producers? You know it. What are consumers? Consumers are again classified into three types. They are primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. Primary consumers are the animals which depend on only plants for their food. So they are herbivores. Okay, secondary consumers. Secondary consumers are the animals which depend on primary consumers for their food. And so they are the animals. They may be carnivores. They are carnivores in itself, but they are not higher carnivores. They are carnivores like for the dog, cat, rat, which depend both on primary consumers and also the other animals too. So they are they also depend on producers too, and they are called as carnivores. Okay, and the tertiary consumers. These are the organisms which depend on secondary consumers. So they depend on secondary consumers. They are higher carnivores. Higher carnivores. So for example, you see here children. So for example, primary consumers, as you know it, they are herbivores such as insects, rabbit, cow, etc. So some insects like grasshoppers and all, they eat the grass. Insects, rabbits, smaller animals that live in the forest also are herbivores. So they are primary consumers that depend on the producers. Okay, they eat producers in itself. Whereas the secondary consumers, they depend on the primary consumers for food. That is, they eat primary consumers, and they include carnivores such as birds, frog, fox, etc. Birds, frog, fox, etc. Okay, so these are the secondary consumers that depend on the primary consumers for food. They also belong to dog, cat also, they are the secondary consumers. Next, coming to the tertiary consumers, these include carnivores that feed on other carnivores in itself. So they feed on other carnivores. So they are higher carnivores like lion, tiger, cheetah, wolf, etc. Is it clear? So this is the examples for the producers and consumers. Hope you have understood about children. You write down neatly in your notebooks. See the board and write neatly. Okay. So what are primary consumers? They eat producers. They include herbivores such as some insects, rabbit, cow, etc. Okay, and next secondary consumers, they eat primary consumers, and they include carnivores such as many birds, frog, fox, etc. Next, tertiary consumers, and they depend on the secondary consumers for their food, and they include carnivores such that eat another carnivores. Okay, they are higher carnivores. They include the snakes also, lion, tiger, wolf, snakes, etc. In a forest, the deer eats the grass, isn't it? And in turn, we know tiger eats the deer. So in an ecosystem, there is a chain-like relationship between the organisms that live there. This sequence, who eats whom, one who eats whom, it is called as a food chain. So in a forest, if you see, there is a deer and also the lion, and the lion eats the deer. So the deer eats the grass. So the food chain explains you that there is an interdependence or the relationship between the producers and consumers. Deer is also a consumer, lion is also a consumer. This is a chain link where grass is a producer which belongs to the plant family, and it is eaten by the deer, which is the herbivore, and is a consumer, primary consumer. It eats lion, which is a tertiary consumer, or it's a carnivore. So always the food chain starts from the producer and ends in carnivores. Food chain starts from the producer and ends in carnivores. Did you understand, children, now? So this is called as a food chain. So it explains, or it is a sequence of who eats whom. Food chain is a sequence of who eats whom. Who eats whom. The link between plants and animals for food. That is, which one eats the which one. Who eats whom. Here, deer is eaten by the lion, whereas the grass is eaten by the deer. So this is a chain link is a link. A link is formed between the three, that is producers and the consumers. So these two are consumers, herbivores and carnivores are consumers, and grass is a producers. There is a link between the producers and consumers. For what? For the sake of food. So that is called as a food chain. So it describes how organisms get the energy and nutrients by eating the other organisms. So you know that the food is required to get energy. Here deer is getting energy by eating grass. Lion is getting energy by eating deer. So the food chain explains the interdependence between the animals for the sake of food. Okay, so next coming to the producers and consumers, where they are interdependent on one another. So in the next class you try to write down the different examples for the food chain. Okay, so and bring it for the next class. You write down in the notes and bring it. Okay children, so another example I will give you. Grains. They are eaten by insects. Insects are eaten by frogs. Frog is eaten by snake. Snake is eaten by eagle. So in fact here the grains are the producers, insects, herbivore, frog, carnivore, snake, carnivore, eagle also carnivore. Where frog is a secondary consumer, snake is a that is tertiary consumer, and the eagle is also a tertiary consumer. Hope you can answer this. Sorry, is a secondary consumer. Both are secondary consumers. Secondary consumers. This is tertiary consumer, eagle, which is tertiary consumer, which eats the carnivores. So here it is a herbivore, it is a primary consumer. Hope you have understood the food chain, children, now. So this is a producer. Producers are eaten by primary consumers. Primary consumers are eaten by secondary consumers. Secondary consumers are eaten by the tertiary consumers. So this is a food chain. Okay. So hope you can understand this is the second example that I have told you. Okay. Hope you have understood this well. In the next class, we'll deal with the food web. Okay children? Do it. Thank you.